the class tonight is on depression, and I just want to let you know, first of all, that obviously it's a very difficult subject to talk about. I almost didn't do a class on it because, it's just a very sensitive subject. And so I just want to let you know that I'm approaching this with great humility, with a very humble heart. I don't have all the answers, but I just wanted to give you some potential alternatives that might be able to help. I have never personally dealt with chronic depression, so I cannot empathize with anybody who's been through that, and it's a really serious issue. I think that time, like 15, 20 years ago, when I broke up with my girlfriend and I thought I couldn't live, probably wasn't as bad as I made it out to be. But I know it's a serious issue, so it's not to be taken lightly. I just want to give you some potential things that have been researched, that have been studied. I'm really going to focus on the physical aspects of depression, physically what's happening in the body with food and neurotransmitter function and how all those things work, but I'm also going to touch a little bit on the spiritual aspect because I think that's very important as well. So there's a statistic in here, and I saw you guys already read it. The World Health Organization is predicting that things continue the way they are. Depression may be the second leading cause of death by 2020. That's pretty frightening. And one of the problems is, in my opinion, is that the approach we're taking to treating depression isn't the greatest approach. And the reason is because, we were created to be happy, to live healthy lives, to have purpose. So why are so many people dealing with depression? And although there's pharmaceutical drugs that have greatly benefited people with depression. I'm not saying that they haven't, because I know a lot of people have greatly benefited from taking antidepressants. However, I've never met anyone who was depressed because of a deficiency in synthetic pharmaceutical drug. Okay, that's not why we're depressed, because we're deficient in the synthetic chemical. So there's other things we can do, and there's other things we can look at to try to overcome this issue. I think it's pretty unfortunate today that people are going to psychiatrists, and psychiatrists are having a 15, 20, 30-minute conversation with people and saying, oh, based on what you're telling me, I think you need XYZ drug. They haven't done any tests on the person. They haven't checked for nutritional deficiencies. They haven't checked for neurotransmitter imbalances. They haven't checked for anything. It's a conversation. And they're guessing which antidepressant may or may not work for you. And I know people who have tried drug after drug after drug after drug, and they just keep guessing until they get one that maybe helps a little bit. To me, that is not a very sound scientific approach to trying to try to help any type of illness or condition or imbalance in the body. So depression is very commonly linked to a deficiency in certain neurotransmitters. We're going to talk a little bit about how different neurotransmitters function. Mainly we have a neurotransmitter called D-phenylalanine. It's a tough one to say. That comes from protein. So if you eat good protein foods, you're getting that. That's converted into L-tyrosine, okay? Then dopamine, and finally norepinephrine. The other one we want to take into account too is serotonin. You probably heard these words. These are different amino acids. These are different hormones, different neurotransmitters that are very critical to our mood and how we feel. So we're going to talk a little bit about what different lifestyle factors contribute to how these work in the body, different foods, etc. So if you go to the next page, I'm going to talk about what I think is one of the main reasons that this issue of depression is continuing to increase. Obviously, there's a lot of different reasons people have depression. If it's a traumatic event, that's one thing, okay? Usually that's short term. But a lot of people are dealing with this chronically, year after year after year after year. And one of the biggest factors, and this is no different than any class I've done on any topic, it's food. The the standard American diet is causing people to be depressed. And I'll tell you why real quick in a nutshell. And then we'll talk about some specific foods that can really help you out. The standard American food supply is poison. I talk about it in every class. Okay, the processed foods, the processed white sugar, the processed white flour, the processed white rice, all the sweets, the candy, all the sugar we're eating is completely wiping out the system. Okay, so we have building blocks in our body in which we need to function. Okay, nobody would deny that. People know we need to drink water, we need minerals, we need fats, we need proteins, we need amino acids. All these things are needed to do the different functions in the body that are necessary. That includes neurotransmitter function for our brain, for our mood, for how we feel. If we don't give the body these critical replacement parts, and we're eating sugar, and we're eating white bread and white flour and all of these things that have zero nutritional value, very simply, you're not giving your body the tools it needs to reproduce healthy cells, to produce healthy neurotransmitters, to produce healthy proteins. It's impossible. Your body doesn't have the parts to function. It can't function. Okay, so I'm going to talk about some specific ones. Hands down, the biggest culprit is sugar. Do you need another handout? Sorry.
Thank you.
Did you get one? Okay. Hands down, the biggest culprit is sugar. Okay? And sugar is a very, very dangerous substance because it creates this roller coaster effect in the body. The scary thing about sugar is it's a comfort food and it makes people feel good immediately when they consume it. Who can attest to that? I did for 25 years, okay, before I got off of sugar. More like 30 years. So it makes you feel good immediately when you consume it, okay? Because it's immediate energy to the body, it goes straight to the brain. But the problem is it creates this roller coaster effect, okay, where you're crashing all the time. It's an up and down roller coaster, and there's no balance in your life when you're living off of sugar, and eventually your body collapses. Okay, so what happens when sugar enters the body is it completely stops digestion. First thing. That's why have you ever heard like, don't eat sweets before a meal to ruin your digestion? Well, that's actually true, because what it does is it stops your digestive system from functioning, period. Okay? So a lot of people have really poor appetites because they eat a lot of sugar. They never feel hungry because all they're doing is putting sugar in their body. Okay? The other thing it does is it completely wipes out all the minerals in your body. So those minerals that you need to produce neurotransmitters that make you feel good and make you feel happy, it's wiping them all out. Okay? So sugar has a double negative effect. Okay, one, there's zero nutrition in it, and two, it wipes out all the necessary things your body needs to be healthy. Okay, it's just very challenging for people to get off sugar because it's such an addictive substance. I've done classes on sugar addiction. I call it addiction. I tell people over and over in my classes that the main addictions we're dealing with in the United States are not drugs, it's not alcohol, it's food. And the number one problem is sugar, and it's the number one thing that you can link to depression. Okay, any questions on that? And I just very briefly in a nutshell went over that. But I want to really kind of focus on some of the foods you can do. So the first thing I think you can do to overcome depression on a physical level, okay, is to eat the foods that we were designed and created to eat. Okay, we were given fruits, and we were given vegetables, and lean meats, and healthy fats, and rice, and beans, and all these types of foods. And in America, we're eating everything but. You know, especially the younger generation of children. They're eating garbage. I was probably the first generation of kids raised completely on junk food, completely on trash. And unfortunately, it hasn't changed much today. Sugared cereals in the mornings, Pop-Tarts, eating candy, pizza, just garbage. And what's interesting about it is it's catching people younger and younger. People used to get sick and diseased in their 70s. Okay? Now people are getting sick and diseased in their 50s and 60s. Okay? Like my parents' age, okay, people are starting to get heart attacks and things like that, and it used to not happen until people were 70 and 80. Now children are sick. Children are getting diabetes. Children are getting cancer. Okay, it's really, really sad. It's the processed food supply in America is poison. Okay, so first thing you need to do is you need to rebalance your system. And you need to balance it with real food. Okay, the more man's touched it, the more man's processed it. Your body doesn't understand it when it enters your system. And your body has to treat it like the poison that it is, and it has to neutralize it, and it has to try to get it out of your system. Okay, so we need to eat real food. So whole, fresh food is key. I can't tell you over and over how key that is to depression. Okay, again, you need those critical, genuine replacement parts to build healthy cells and healthy neurotransmitters in the brain. Okay, so the number one thing I'm going to talk about is vitamin C. Okay, it sounds so simple. Everybody knows that you should take vitamin C. Well, I want to talk about it specifically for depression because the reason is it converts the D-phenylalanine into into L-tyrosine, which is one of the critical functions that happens in the body to produce, those neurotransmitters that we need. Camu berries, which is the highest known source of vitamin C on the planet, is the second most widely used herb right now for depression. Okay, and it's for this reason. Now, it's very important to understand that vitamin C needs to come from a whole food source. Okay, most people are taking vitamin C. It says ascorbic acid. Okay, ascorbic acid is a synthetic isolate. It's either synthetic made from coal tar or it's made from genetically modified corn. Okay, that is what 98% of the vitamin C supplements out on the market are made from. It is not what is going to help your depression. Okay, vitamin C from whole food sources, which would be camu berries, amla berries, acerola cherries. Food sources are obviously going to be your citrus fruits. Broccoli is actually really high in vitamin C. Bell peppers are really high in vitamin C. Even your hot peppers like cayenne pepper are very high in vitamin C. So there's a lot of foods you can eat that are going to give us this substance. So again, you're eating standard American diet. You're eating cereal in the morning. You're eating a sandwich for lunch and you're eating pizza for dinner. You're never getting this stuff. Okay, so that's how we develop deficiencies in all of these things, because we eat American food. Number two, and a lot of these are actually herbs. The second one is Mucuna pruriens. Okay, it's a very weird sounding plant, but it's the highest known source of L-dopa. L-dopa is the precursor to producing dopamine in your body, which is very important for your mood. The only potential issue with mucuna is that it can depress serotonin levels in the body. So if you're deficient in serotonin, which if you're on the standard American diet you probably are, and I'll explain later why, it can actually, it might not work for you. So what you can do is try it, and if it doesn't do the trick, you can try something else. The third one is St. John's wort. A lot of people know about this. A lot of people have really benefited from St. John's wort with depression. They've actually studied it and found it works really good for like really mild cases or even moderate cases of depression, but it does not really work for severe depression. People that are in a chronic severe state of depression. For whatever reason, it doesn't work. And you don't ever want to take St. John's wort if you're taking antidepressants. Okay. But that St. John's wort is actually the #1 plant that's been used for thousands of years for depression. Camu berries is number 2. So those are the top 2 botanical plants in the world used for depression. Number 4, Ginkgo biloba, potentially the oldest known tree in the history of Earth. Okay, this tree actually survived World War II when the bombs dropped in Japan. It's like the only thing that survived. The trees were burned and scarred. They completely regenerated and healed themselves, and it was the only thing left standing. These trees are able to adapt to any environment, poor soil conditions, horrible living conditions. Ginkgo biloba actually means two-lobed. So they've actually found that it's really good for the brain. There's 2 lobes to the brain.
There's contrary opinions on that. That doesn't help at all. I've heard from several sources. Don't ask me who now. I can't recall.
Sure.
But I've heard that it's not correct for the memory and concentration and other things. But there is contrary opinions.
Oh, sure. Well, there's contrary opinions on everything.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, just to address that real quick, I'll tell you one reason why herbs don't work. Not everything works for everybody. Okay, Ginkgo biloba isn't written in ancient texts over 3,000 years talking about depression and brain function and things like that because it doesn't work. It works. It doesn't mean it's not going to work. It's going to work for everybody. Also, I do nutrition response testing. I found a lot of people have blockages in their nervous system. If you have a blockage in your nervous system from mercury or heavy metals or severe food allergies because all you eat is sugar, your body's not going to respond to anything you put in your body. That's why a lot of times people say, well, herbs don't work. That's supposed to work. It doesn't work. Well, your body's and your nervous system is not functioning properly, and it doesn't respond to anything you put in your body, any nutrition you put in your body. So those are just some reasons why certain things don't work for certain people. But again, these are just options. These are just just things to try because they have worked for thousands of people. Doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you, of course. Number 5 is holy basil. It's one of my favorite plants. I put a lot of people on holy basil. It's been used for 2,000 plus years to put people in a prayer meditative type of state. It's very calming, it's very relaxing, it uplifts the mood and spirit. Okay, it's very good for building the adrenal glands, which is what's responsible for our stress response and our anxiety response. So a lot of people that have really bad stress and anxiety, holy basil is like a lifesaver. I've literally told people that it saved their life because they were feeling that bad. Number 6, fish oil. Okay, omega-3s. Why? Omega-3s are critical to nerve function, brain function, neurotransmitter function, hormone production. Okay, all the hormones that are produced in your body are produced from fats. The worst thing you could ever do is a low-fat diet. In the 70s, we started people putting on low-fat diets. So people were doing low-fat and they were doing high sugar. Okay, that is the worst thing you could ever possibly do. You need to eliminate the sugar and you need to increase your good fats and your good quality proteins. That's how you stay balanced. That's how you produce the right hormones that your body needs to feel good. Coconut oil is a really interesting animal. A lot of people are scared of coconut oil because it's saturated fat. Who heard coconut oil is bad because it's saturated fat? Come on. At least a couple of you. Okay, here's the example I always give people. Breast milk in women. It's 95% saturated fat. People don't know that. Okay? Why is it saturated fat? Because that's what the baby needs to grow. That's what builds their nervous system. That's what builds their brain. That's what builds their immune system. So it builds everything in that baby is saturated fat. Okay, so coconut oil, which is a really good quality source of saturated fat, is a hormone precursor. It will help you produce proper hormones, especially all your sex hormones. It'll increase your metabolism. It helps with weight loss. Okay, it increases your energy level. It balances you throughout the day. It's the best oil to cook with because it's a very stable oil. Okay, so fat-wise, I specifically mentioned fish oils. I talked a lot about other omega-3s. There's flax and there's all kinds of other great oils out there. Fish oil is the one that's been studied over and over and over again, specifically in depression, and helping lots and lots of people with depression, specifically fish oil. So I really just wanted to focus on that for your guys' benefit. If you are like a hardcore vegan or vegetarian, you can actually do krill oil. Okay, krill is what the fish eat so that they develop the good fats. Okay, so you can skip the fish and just eat the krill. Food number 7, cashews. Okay, so here's like the first thing that you guys maybe have like actually know what it is and actually taste good. Yeah, cashews are awesome. A couple hands of cashews, they did a study that showed it worked as good as any antidepressant on the market. Okay, why? It's a really high source of tryptophan. Okay, tryptophan is another very important thing that we need for our mood. A lot of people will take tryptophan supplements to help them sleep as well. Okay, it's a very calming and relaxing amino acid found in the body. The highest herbal source of tryptophan is actually chamomile. Has anybody had chamomile, drink chamomile tea? A lot of people have. Okay, it's the highest herbal source of tryptophan, so that's why it's very calming and relaxing and makes people feel good. Okay. Number 8, yes, chocolate. Okay. See, I see some people getting excited now. Chocolate has over 300 mood-boosting nutrients in it. Okay. That is not Reese's peanut butter cups. It's not M&Ms. It's not peppermint patties. It's not Junior Mints. Okay. It's not a Hershey bar. Okay. All that stuff is sugar, okay? There's no real chocolate in there, okay? Chocolate is from a tree, okay? And it's called the cacao tree. And by the time Hershey's and these other companies get a hold of it, it's nothing like it originally was. So what you need to do is buy cacao in its raw form, okay, which you can buy, and it's really pretty cheap. And I even put a little recipe on here for the best, like, mood-boosting chocolate you could possibly make. And it's the easiest thing in the world. It's coconut oil, it's the raw cacao, and a little bit of honey or stevia for sweetening. And you combine those things, mix it up, it's an unbelievably good chocolate sauce that you can dip fruit in or just eat or whatever. Okay, and it would be very good for enhancing your mood. Number 9, fermented foods. I talked a lot about this last week when I did the class on fatigue. okay? Because your body is 100 trillion cells, and almost every single one of those are living bacterial organisms, okay? And those living bacteria are critically important for your immune function, okay? And for the health of your gut, okay? Remember we talked a little bit about serotonin, okay? If anybody's been on an antidepressant that was a serotonin uptake inhibitor, okay? Because you're not producing serotonin properly and holding it in your brain where it should be. So they give you a drug that physically alters your nervous system to force that to stay in your brain. Eating fermented foods will restore the health of your gut, okay? This is why it's important. 80% of your serotonin is produced in your gut, okay? Not in your brain, it comes from your gut, okay? So again, standard American foods, lots of sugar, lots of trash going in, your gut's a train wreck, you're not going to produce the proper serotonin you need to be happy and to be in a good mood, okay? Number 10, raw living foods. Just eating nutritious foods is critical. I'm going to talk about just a couple of other quick things. Vitamin B12 has been linked to depression. So you can do a B12 supplement. Foods are in organ meats. I don't know anybody who eats organ meats. I know back in the day, like a couple of generations ago, people used to eat livers and all kinds of heart and stuff like that. But we really don't do that anymore. But you know, Eskimos do it, and they're super healthy. So
I do it.
you do it? Good. Yeah, that's good. So you're going to definitely get plenty of that if you eat that. Some plant-based sources are spirulina and chlorella. Or like I said, you can take a supplement.
Just a regular meat that it's
No, it's in regular meat too. Oh yeah, it's in all meat. It's really high in the organ meat specifically. Vitamin D, sunshine vitamin. I mean, everybody knows that when they go out in the sunshine, it makes them feel better. Okay, a lot of people get more depressed in the wintertime than in the summer. Highest rates of suicide are in places like Seattle and London, where it's cloudy and rainy all the time. You know, so the sun is an amazing source of life. Exercise. Exercise stimulates neurotransmitter function. Our body was designed to move. So what they found, and I heard this really neat, this guy talk about exercise, and he said what worked for people best with depression were group exercise programs. So where you work out with a group of people, because it does a couple of things. One, it gives you a sense of community being with other people. And the second thing it does is it gives you accountability to show up, to make sure you do it, to make sure you're there. Okay? So group exercise specifically is very good, whether it's a bike class or a yoga class or a organized sport, whatever. You know, just do some type of exercise. And then I had to put a quick little section in here on what to avoid. Processed sugar, processed white flour, white rice, rancid oils. This is a big one, okay, the rancid oils. I talked about the benefits of omega-3 fatty acids, fish oil, coconut oil, things like that. Rancid oils destroy the system. We're talking your vegetable oils that people cook with, the canola oil, the safflower oil, soy oil, corn oil. Look at that, I don't know what that brand is, Wesson or something like that. You look at those vegetable oils on there, man, this is some rancid, nasty stuff. Okay, it wipes out our hormones in our system, our neurotransmitter function, and it increases inflammation really, really bad in the body. Did you have a question, Rita?
Well, when you say rancid, I think of it as really old and it starts smelling funky, but you're not talking about that. You're talking about don't use vegetable oils at all.
I'm talking not using vegetable oils at all. I'm talking coconut oil for cooking, okay, and olive oil and pumpkin oil and sesame oil and other things for your salads. Okay? Huh?
Peanut oil?
I wouldn't do peanut oil either. You know, they're not as bad as the other ones, but yeah.
I do understand, I don't know if I'm wrong, that the chemicals, the bad chemicals on the oils are released when you heat it up.
Right. That's why coconut oil is the best. Because coconut oil is very stable.
Oh.
So you don't get a lot of the damaging effects when you heat
Yeah.
coconut oil. than
So
when you
if
do
we
with the
are
rest
to
of the
use
oils.
oils, yes, on salad and
Yeah,
non-cooked.
that's just on food and salads and
Mhm.
things like that.
Oh.
Yep, yeah. Or even what you can do is after you make rice or after you steam vegetables, you can just add it after.
Yes.
Yeah, you don't have to cook with it. And I wanted to mention too, I didn't mention it when I mentioned cashews, is the other couple really other high sources of the tryptophan are pumpkin seeds and sesame seeds. If anybody's eaten tahini, Okay, tahini is a really good source of tryptophan as well. Okay, so those are listed in there as well. So that's it for that. Any questions so far on the food aspect? Yes?
I have heard that if you have olive oil and you open it, then once you open it, it's going to get rancid within what?
Eventually, but it takes a year or two for olive oil to go rancid.
Really?
Yeah.
If you keep it in the refrigerator, which seems odd, but would that help prevent it?
It will help it. It'll just be like hard.
Hard till you.
Yeah. Any other questions on food? Okay. No? Okay. So now I'm going to talk more about lifestyle stuff, other reasons people have depression. Now, like I said in the beginning, okay, a lot of people have traumatic events that have happened in their life, okay. I have not had any horribly traumatic events happen in my life. So again, I can't empathize with people dealing with those types of situations. What I'm talking with more here are people that are dealing with the chronic long-term type of depression type of stuff. And what I found is that there's often a disconnect, okay? A disconnect between that person and something in their life, something that's missing in their life. And what I really encourage people to do is to connect with these things. And the main things people are disconnected from is God, nature, exercise, food, and people. Okay? The first one I'm going to talk about is God. Okay? Why is this important? A lot of people, the depression kind of becomes their identity. It kind of becomes who they are. I just want to let everybody know that they have a higher purpose. You have somebody who created you. You have a higher purpose. There's a plan for your life. I even give a scripture here, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to give you hope, and plans to give you a future. I gave my testimony about a week ago online, if anybody's interested in that. But I used to be an atheist. Okay, I was very disconnected from God. Okay, it has radically changed my life in an amazing way on 1,000 different levels that I couldn't even begin to explain to you. Okay. That's a good shirt. And I just want to make it very clear, when I talk about God, I'm not talking about religion, I'm not talking about a church, I'm talking about Jesus Christ. Okay? So, it's not some random mystical force in the universe. Okay, I'm very clear about, who I believe in. And, as far as depression goes specifically, I've seen a lot of personal people in my family and a lot of personal friends I know have been pulled completely out of depression through the power of knowing Jesus Christ. One of the points I want to make on that subject is that people, and I wrote it in here, people are looking for the right pill, the right person, or the right circumstances to overcome their depression. I encourage people to look up, not look in this world, okay? Because things of this world will very often disappoint you. I think everybody can relate to the fact that in some time in their life they've been disappointed by people, they've been disappointed by material objects. Okay, I lived that whole quote-unquote American dream where I had all kinds of nice house and nice car and all that stuff, and believe me, it does not bring you happiness. Okay, so disconnect from God causes some of the following things, and I'll give you a brief list. No purpose in life, no relationship with the God who created you, feelings of separation from God, a spirit of depression from living a sinful, rebellious, disobedient life, turning away from God. And then a lot of people, they live that life and they don't think they're good enough for God. They don't think they can come to God, which is the exact opposite. A lot of people think they have to clean themselves up before they go to God. It's the opposite. You need to go to God so that He can clean you up. There's really no other way. Being unthankful instead of thankful for the things in our life. Focusing on yourself and not others. This was my big one. Okay, it took God to make me realize how selfish of a human being I was. Okay. And I go into great detail in that. And it's very hard for me to talk about, but I go into great detail in that in my testimony. Carrying your own burdens instead of giving them to God. And unforgiveness. A lot of people deal with major unforgiveness in their life and not being able to forgive people from their past. So I just wanted to touch on that spiritual aspect because I think that's a very important part of it for a lot of people. Number 2, connecting with people. Okay, so like I said, people will let you down. Okay, so that's why I think you need to connect with God first. This is the simplest commandments. I mean, to the disciples asked Jesus, like, what is the greatest commandment? 1, love God with all your heart, soul, and strength. And number 2, love people. Love your neighbors, you love yourself. Those are the first 2 commandments. So I just got them here in order. So the second one is connect with people. We need fellowship. We need community. We need to feel like we have a place where we belong. Family members, friends, etc. We need support. That's why it's important to volunteer, to help other people. Feel like you're serving a purpose in life. That's why I quit the corporate job I was working for 8 years, is I did not feel like I was benefiting people and I was benefiting humanity. Okay, so I quit and I got into this. Number 3, connecting with nature. God is found in nature. He created it. So that's why people love nature. People like to go camping and hiking and biking and do all those kind of things, to be connected with nature. This can be as simple as putting plants around your house. This is as simple as getting a dog or a cat. Just feeling connected to nature immediately makes people feel better. Number 4, connecting with food. Okay, this is a big one. As I said in the beginning, food is the main reason why a lot of people deal with depression. Okay, so what happens with food is, instead of being nourishment to our bodies, it's turned into a crutch. It's turned into a lifeline. It's turned into comfort food, and it's turned into an enemy. It keeps us from being in control of our own bodies. I was completely out of control of my own body because of my sugar addiction. Okay, I craved it so bad. I would think about it. I couldn't wait till I got off work so I could have sugar. I couldn't wait till whatever. It was just out of control. Okay, I was not in control of me. Okay, food is supposed to provide nutrition to our body. It's supposed to just be something we need when we're hungry. It shouldn't control our lives. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it controls their lives. And it puts them in this constant roller coaster of depression. Number 5, connecting with exercise. The human body was created to move. I say treadmills and gyms are boring, but that works for some people. I would rather play sports and be outside and take walks and be in nature and go bike riding and things like that. But whatever works for you, I just really encourage people to move their bodies. And then I give 10 just natural things that people can do, which you guys can read on your own. And I actually went through that pretty quick, quicker than I thought I would. Did anybody have any questions or comments, or want to share anything, or anything at all? Are we going to have a quiet group tonight?
What's your take on oranges for vitamin C?
Fantastic.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, I just listed the highest known
Yeah, I
sources in
know.
the world. But yeah, citrus fruits, fantastic for vitamin C. No doubt. No doubt about it. Yeah. Yes?
And a couple of years ago at work, we really got busy trying to learn this new stuff and everything.
Mhm.
And I was really stressed out. And I knew that ginkgo was supposed to kind of help with that. So I started taking that, and after a few months of being on it every day, I could start realizing my stress level was starting to slowly go down.
That's great.
But I need to get back on it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's great. And I do have, I didn't necessarily advertise any products, but I actually have stuff in there called Happy Juice that a lot of people use. I mean, it really works. It's called Happy Juice. I have ginkgo biloba in a formula called Think. So pretty much all these things I talked about, I have in some form or another. The good fats, things like that. But I'll tell you, I'm just going to stress again. Okay, the most important critical thing you can do for your health is change what you do and do not eat every day. What you do or do not put in your mouth every day is 95% of your health. Okay, you can take all the best supplements on the planet. Okay, but if you're not going to change the way you eat, okay, it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a battle.